All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to AI Innovation, accelerating your workplace culture of recognition and connection. First, we want to thank you for joining us. There's no greater gift that people give one another than time, and you are choosing to spend some time with us today, and we appreciate that. And we want to have a discussion here that is worthy of your time. So thank you all for joining us. And also, I want to thank our two co-presenters here, Ron Lancaster, Chief Product Officer at Augeo, and Sarita Parikh, VP of Product Strategy at Augeo. Both have extensive experience in product technology and practical expertise in applying AI within the workplace. So welcome, Ron and Sarita.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Well, you guys know me. I like to jump right in and get a good warm-up question going. So let's start with, what was one of your first uses of AI in the workplace that stands out to you, that you remember? Ron, let's start with you.
Well, one thing when we talk about AI, it's a broad topic, and there's been various versions of AI and machine learning and data science and deep learning for quite some time. But I think, like many people, ChatGPT was this revolutionary moment over a year ago. Like an earlier version of that was this completion API, and sort of you gave it some text and it would respond. But ChatGPT was so fundamentally different. And it's a great example of how the tech continues to move very, very quickly.
Sarita, how about you?
I had to rack my brain for this question. The first one that I can remember is that, big data, predictive forecasting analytics, back in the day, maybe 5, 10 years ago, the concept was around using machine learning for forecasting, but at the time it was more hype than reality. Of course, now, fast forward a few years, there's been incredible leaps. I'm really actually blown away by what we're doing at Augeo with analytics and predictive forecasting. So it's come a long way since then.
This is evolving. We're living through such exciting times right now. It's great that we have those shared experiences and share them with one another. Now, today, we want to dig a little bit deeper, especially knowing that we've got HR leaders here and they're responsible for culture. They're thinking about strategies of, how am I going to deploy AI within my workplace strategy to push culture, to help build connections? And so we really want to focus in on that, especially knowing there's just mountains of content written each day about AI, what it can mean. So we like to focus it down. And I want to start with you, Sarita, to help build that framework for us, to focus us in. So what would you say are the top 3 things to know about the role of AI in driving culture in the workplace right now?
We've narrowed it to 3 that are our key focuses right now. The first is around personalization. So using data-driven, all this data that's out there, which is just too much for any person to really consume or understand or process, really ensuring that we can use AI to say what's relevant to each user. So that's personalization. Our second is simplification. So it's really taking what is currently kind of a clunky employee experience in a lot of employee software and moving that into what we call consumer grade employee experiences, really making them fresh, easy, and simple. The third area of focus for us right now is around nudges, and that's using behavioral science and really helping people kind of meet people where they are and help them do what they already want to do. So our 3 big areas are personalization, simplification, and nudges.
All right, well, that's a great framework. Let's dig into that first one. Ron, if we're going to unpack that first note, data-driven use for personalization. Now, you've spent a good amount of time analyzing and creating integrated AI tools at Augeo. So thank you, 1, for your work. Then 2, can you dig deeper into that first point and just unpack it a bit for us?
Yeah, when we talk about this idea of data-driven AI, in particular, it's about providing context for the intelligence to be more useful in some way. And one of the analogies I like to use is, like, you think about like one of the smartest people but in this case, they don't know your business, they don't know your industry, they don't know sort of the day-to-day. You can go to them and you can ask that very, very, smart, intelligent person to help you with a particular problem, but they can only go so deep without the knowledge of your day-to-day. And AI is really quite similar to that. We now have access to incredible algorithms that we can plug right into our products, but without that data, without that context, They're like that really smart, colleague or smart individual that you can go to. They can give you some insights that are superficial, but not at the depth that you need. So when we think about like how do we apply that data-driven AI, there's a couple of cases. One is just doing better about doing the personalization, the recommendations within the product offering. A second area that I think our audience, I'd really urge is to, when you're interacting with things like ChatGPT, when you're interacting with AI, really give it that deep context. Treat it like it's that smart person that doesn't know your business, and give it as much information as your company allows. Sanitize it if that's required, or if you've got the tools where you don't have to sanitize it, but give it as much context as you need. And I think that's really important. I want to leave one more concept, which we can come back to a little bit later here too, which is as we're interacting with our applications that have AI, there's this really neat area of research where the AI can actually form long-term memories of interactions that we have with the software. And you'll see that within ChatGPT here within the next couple of months. You're seeing this more and more in our products and our applications. And that is this fundamental change that goes beyond where we were in the past. So it really creates this new context of data driven to a whole new level.
Yeah, that's a great one. And using it to get more targeted, more personal, which is, of course, is more
Yes.
relevant to all of us. It's interesting. I recently read an article about AI in 2024, and I think it nailed, at least in my opinion, where we're going to head this year. And this is this idea of 2023 was really about broad AI, broad application of AI, general application. So think ask ChatGPT to answer the thing. 2024 was going to be about niche, targeted AI tools, where we really start tightening the screws, honing in, and leveraging it in ways that are specific and that get us closer to our goals. It's important to know what are the expectations around the experience, especially in the employee space, and what role can AI play in meeting those expectations.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe the sibling of what Ron just talked about with personalization. So you can use AI, you can do all of this work to personalize the content. But the second piece is you have to make it simple for people to use. Like you can do all this work, and if it's hard to use, it's sort of for what purpose? One of the things that we are seeing over and over is that most like workplace software give employees kind of like a subpar experience, right? Like if you just think about the software that you use on your own, maybe you use Fitbit or Instagram or Duolingo, like the things that you use on your own are very simple to use. It's clear why you're there, you get value right away, right? But if you think about the software you use at work, and I won't name names, the experience tends to be clunky, it tends to be complicated, you have to press a lot of buttons, you're scratching your head. I do think workplace software does a great job of prioritizing like administrative functions. But if you really think about the employee experience and, getting value to your workforce, most employee software doesn't do that very well. So this is something where we are focused on, simplifying, on creating these consumer-grade employee experiences. And AI is incredibly helpful to test ideas, to see what is causing friction in that user experience. What are the mental models for employees, and optimize them. I have a job to do. One of my jobs is not to figure out how to use the software. The software should be easy for me to use. So AI has been incredibly helpful in the usability side.
Now, Ron, I saw you pretty engaged as Sarita was going along. Did you have something to add on that one as well?
Yeah, there's a couple that I would just add to where Sarita was taking that, where, from a technology perspective, like this last year has been incredible, sort of the leaps, the fast forward technology has taken. When we think about like this consumer experience that Sarita was mentioning, it's also moving and evolving really rapidly. And so as we've got our enterprise applications, like, everything, the bar continues to raise. Luckily, as practitioners and individuals that can bring these into our products, there's now a number of ways to get access to that very quickly into our offerings. And so I think over 2024, employees and individuals are going to be expecting to be able to interact with the software, not just in a personalized way, but also in a multi-modality way, so that they can type to it, they can speak to it, the software can speak back, And then maybe later 2024, but 2025, certainly the expectation about the software being proactive on the individual's behalf is just going to grow and grow as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. It leans into one of my favorite things that we do at Augeo, which is each year we create trends that from our own experience, what we're seeing in the marketplace, what we're hearing from clients in strategic conversations with them. And one of my personal favorite trends this year, just because I think it's so true, is that AI is going to move from a novelty to a teammate. And I think that we're seeing it already happen. I think we're hearing it in the things that the two of you are describing. And I really think we're going to lean heavily into that in 2024. And I think that leads us directly to your third point, Sarita, which is this idea of AI helping with nudges. So talk to us a little bit about what we mean there.
So, Kevin, I love what you said about the teammate. It's kind of like if you had somebody over here who's like, "Hey, Kevin," you tap you on the shoulder. Here's what's going on. Here's something you could do, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, great, perfect." So that's kind of the concept of a nudge. A nudge is, like someone saying, "Hey, here's something." In the behavioral science world, nudges are these ideas of uh, evidence-driven tactics that help people do what they already want to do. So to follow best practices, to actually act on information. So not just consume information, but actually do something about it. And so again, this theme over and over is that we have so much information that we're exposed to everywhere, and it comes fast, and there's so many things competing for our attention. And it's very hard to figure out, just of all the things you could be doing, what should you be doing? So nudges systematically look at trends, they look at behavioral goals, they look at organizational goals, and then they give you an action that you can take. So let me give you a concrete example. Say if I'm a manager and I have a team member who's getting, say if Kevin's my team member and Kevin's getting a lot of recognition for a project, maybe you worked on this consolidation project and a bunch of people are like, sending you appreciations and they're very, very grateful. So as your manager, like that should be on my radar. And I should let you know that I see it. And I should let you know that I appreciate it. Right. But I'm busy and I'm working and I've got, many managers are working managers. And so what nudges do is it takes all those shoulds and it helps me as a manager just do them like without figuring out, like logging into another system and like checking it out. Nudges can come to me, say if I'm in Teams or if I'm in Slack, where I'm already spending my time. And I could get a nudge saying, "Hey, Kevin's received great feedback. Ron called Kevin a rock star, and Sue said Kevin saved her hours of time." It could just kind of get a digest. And I could then get a one-click button right there in Teams or Slack that just says, "Hey, here's what's going on with Kevin. Here's what do you want to do?" And then I could be like, "Oh, wow, this is awesome. Thanks for letting me know. I don't have to go somewhere else. I can do it right where I am, and I can send you a note." So what happens, what might probably fall by the wayside, becomes something that comes to me. I feel great as a leader. You feel great as an employee who's being recognized. It really fosters camaraderie and can really deliver on appreciation at work.
When you think about the idea of nudges and which I think is a great way to put it and leans into this idea of AI as a teammate. Thoughts on nudges and the practicality and usage of that in the workplace?
Yeah, well, one of the things I really appreciate was like Sarita was able to bring these real examples and how a nudge would be used in some way. I think, when we contrast that to like a notification that might pop up is generally a reaction to some event. The nice thing about a nudge is maybe it's a reaction to some sort of accomplishment that's happened within the organization or something similar, but it's really about creating an action of the individual. And that way
Yeah.
it's proactive versus reactive. The tools that we've had in the past have been, largely like, static data analysis, maybe a little bit of this predictive analysis. But what the great thing that we've got now that we can start plugging into our applications is this, true sense of a blooming artificial intelligence. And what that lets us do is reason about the kinds of data that we have available in the terms of software, and then proactively, push that behavior. And that lets us change the AI, from being a zero to a hero. And what I mean by that is, rather than the nudge being disruptive or maybe not helpful and popping up at the wrong time, these can now be really show up with the right set of motivation for the right individual at the right time. And when you get that right, it's magical. It's serendipitous. And that's what we really want to strive for. Applying the behavioral science that Sarita spoke about before, but with the technology finally there to make that a reality.
All right, last couple of minutes. Let's end with a lightning round. I love me some lightning round, so let's lean into that. My lightning round question: what's the biggest point that you want to emphasize to our attendees on where to spend time this year on AI so that it can impact workplace culture? Ron, we were just had you talking, so let's start with you.
I think the main thing here is that anytime there's a first sort of version of a technology, generally it's maybe it's not great, maybe it doesn't present well, maybe it has a lot of promise. And I think that's where sort of these large language models were this past year. They really were the first version. In this next year, they're moving more into that second version and that more mature stage. And so for folks, if you sort of lightly experimented with using AI in the workplace before, maybe your organization's just now rolling out Microsoft Copilot, I would really urge people now, dig in, become experts, provide as much detail and context, learn how to get the most out of the tools that are at your disposal, in particular with this new technology, and be that leader that's helping others make the use and best of these tools. Because now with this version tool and moving forward, the version of AI that we have available to us today in our applications in our company, it's the worst version of it that we'll ever have. And the effort really is worthwhile.
Sarita, hot seat is to you.
Be sure to start with the business instead of the technology. Like, just right now, everything is AI this, AI that, and it is an incredible technological leap for sure. This is game changing, but still our jobs are really about solving business problems, delivering on our business strategies and our business objectives. And so with all of this, it's always helpful just to think, what problems do I need solved? And then how can the technology help? Rather than, what can I do with this technology? So I just, the hype is real. It is a real thing, but always, sort of ground it in, what is the sort of best outcome for the business and for your employees.
Well, fantastic. Thank you both. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Sarita, for sharing your thoughts and expertise with us today. Thank you to all of our attendees for spending some time with us today. We appreciate it. If you do have any questions, or if you just want to talk further about ways that you can use AI as a teammate, especially in workplace culture, we're here for you. Just give us an email at info@augiomarketing.com, and we'd love to have a conversation.